Our first speaker, who is coming up the aisle as we speak, is a gentleman who has spoken from this stage before, but some years ago actually, so we thought it was high time we had the return of David Ash. Now David has been working for a long time with, the superenergy theories, looking at physics and melding that with the spirit, and he's been talking for a long time about what he calls the quantum vortex, and has been very much a leading figure in melding science together with the spirit. So he's here. He's putting some very interesting things on this table here, and I'm going to now leave him in your hands and say, David Ash, thank you very much indeed.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for coming, taking the trouble to come today, and especially the overseas visitors. I have a very special friend who's come in from Belgium, Maria in the back there, who had a big impact on my life about 40 years ago, it must be, in helping me in this work that I'm doing. So, yes, this is a very, very special event, very special time for me. Glastonbury is a wonderful springboard. It seems as though this is where, things really begin in my life. And I feel this Glastonbury Symposium this year and the people I'm going to meet are going to be instrumental in the next phase of my work. It's been a long journey. When I was 16, I stumbled across the key to the universe. It was an ancient lost knowledge that I discovered in a book on yogic philosophy. And in that book, it said that the smallest particles of matter are vortices of prana. Now, at that age, 16, I knew enough to realize, first of all, that prana means energy. And secondly, my father had introduced me to physics across the key to the universe. It was an ancient lost knowledge that I discovered in a book on yogic philosophy. And in that book, it said that the smallest particles of matter are vortices of prana. Now, at that age, 16, I knew enough to realize, first of all, that prana means energy. And secondly, my father had introduced me to physics when I was about 6. So I had 10 years of physics under my belt by the time I was 16. So I realized that these yogis had anticipated Albert Einstein. The book that I had in my hand had gone to publication in January 1905. And in that same year, Albert Einstein, several months later, published his theories of relativity, his first theory of relativity, and his now famous equation, E equals mc squared. In other words, mass is a form of energy. But nobody has known how energy forms mass. That's the great enigma in science, in physics. And later on, when I did further research, I realized that the yogis used their siddhi powers, namely the anima siddhi, the siddhi that allowed them to enter the really small. And what they did is they shrank their consciousness commensurate with the atom. And they peered into the atom. They actually looked into the atom. And they saw that there was nothing in there but spin. And they realized it's the spin of prana, it's the spin of energy that forms subatomic particles. And from that realization, they came out with the principle of maya, the illusion of materiality. And the whole of physics is under that illusion that there is some sort of particle down there, some real entity down there, when in fact, within the atom, there are whirlpools of energy, and energy is no thing, it's got no substance, there's nothing there but spin. So particles of energy are more like thoughts than things. And when I was 4, I declared that I was going to prove the existence of God through science. Would you like to hear it? The proof? Terribly simple. Sir James Jeans, one of Britain's greatest astrophysicists, in a book called The Mysterious Universe, published by Cambridge University in 1930, said that the stream of knowledge is taking us to the realization that the universe is more a great thought than a great machine, and if the universe is a great thought, it is not unreasonable to assume the existence of a great thinker. And if you want to call that great thinker God, great. But quantum theory and quantum physics, there's a recognition that the bedrock of reality is consciousness, is conscious awareness. And we are all incarnations of that conscious awareness, which is why 3,000 years ago, Hermes called us human beings. The word hu is an ancient word, the equivalent of God in the Egyptian language. So we're the incarnations, we're the combination of God and man. And so when we deny the existence of the divine, when we deny the existence of the hu, we deny our own reality. Because this world, I tell you who understood, who really got it, were the First Nation Australians, when they recognized that we are in a dream state. The quantum nature of reality, the quantum nature of these subatomic particles and quanta of light is more like thoughts than things. We're living in an illusion. We're living in a dream. And I'm going to talk about near-death experiences in a moment. But a lot of people coming back realize that actually when they're in the other world, it feels more real than this world, and this world fades away like a dream. So we put so much store by this physical world. But we're just here for lessons. We're here to be put through a process. You know, there's a philosopher in Australia, in Oxford, who's putting forward this philosophy that we're like in a computer program. See? Or the Matrix movie, you know, we're in the Matrix. It's true. There's so many of these movies, like Star Trek and the Matrix, actually, they're trying to teach us something about truth, about what's really the real nature of reality. And so, I've got this little model of the subatomic vortex. There are a lot of vortex theories around. They're based on the toroid vortex, but it doesn't work in physics because the subatomic particle is a perfect little sphere and it has no poles. It has no signs of vortex motion when you study it. The reason is, with a ball of wool, when you wind the wool, the orientation of spin is changing all the time. So it's got an axis of spin, but you can't measure it because it's changing at the speed of light. And so this is the ball vortex. And this is the key to the universe. Now, what's interesting about this is a symbol of womanhood. What I'm actually putting into physics, what I'm saying is that there are two forms of energy. In physics, they try to explain the entire universe in terms of wave function, in terms of the waveform of energy. But that is the masculine form of energy. Light in the Native American tradition is masculine. In many of the ancient traditions, light was recognized as masculine. Whereas matter, mother, it comes from the Latin for mother, is feminine. And lo and behold, the smallest particle of matter is like the ball of wool. It is the feminine form of energy. It's just like the ovum. The wave quantum is like sperm. And you know, in the Talmud, it says we see the world not the way it is, but the way we are. men who dominate physics can see nothing but sperm. And they completely ignore the woman, don't they? The priests, fortunately, women priests are coming in now. But you see, this is the time of the resurgence of the divine feminine. I'm sure a lot of you will agree with that. And I'm bringing the feminine into physics. I bet you if we did a head count, we'd find there are more women than men in this room. Every time I give a lecture, there are more women than men because they're attracted to my talks. Not because I'm the most handsome man in the universe. Did I say that? No, I didn't. No. They're attracted to my lectures because I'm talking about their physics. This is the physics of the feminine. And what's so wonderful about this physics is it's so simple, and easy to understand. Easy enough for children to understand. So I'll just give you a few tastes. This is a whirlpool of light. It's a spiral space path. The wave drives into the vortex, just like the sperm drives into the ovum, and pushes the vortex forward in wave motion. That is the wave particle duality in physics. And then in the very massive particles, vortices, called protons, the wave drives in and it withstands the impact. So instead of moving forward in wave motion, the wave goes right into it and swirls inside it. So these protons are full of captured energy, wave energy. Bring them together with a great force and they converge, and some of the energy spills out. That's nuclear energy. Meanwhile, they're converged, and most of the energy, the captured energy, is now swirling between them, binding them together. That's the nuclear force. Richard Feynman said, of nuclear energy, we have the formulas for that, not the fundamental understanding. We don't know what it is. They don't know what nuclear energy is in physics, for all their mathematics, for all their universities, for all their PhDs. And here we've got it. We can explain it in a single sentence. Bang a couple of vortices together, and you squeeze some of the energy out. Like putting two full glasses of water together, some of it spills out. That's nuclear energy. And you cannot understand nuclear energy and the strong nuclear force without the vortex theory. So you see, the inertia of mass. I mean, if I kick a wall or something, it stays put. If you push that wall, we better just check it's still standing up. Now, why is this wall so solid? Why does it stay there? Why doesn't it move? It's because it's made up of trillions of little whirlpools of light. And they've got this stay-put inertia. It's gyroscopic spin in every direction, which stops it moving in any direction. So simple, isn't it? Is anyone having a difficulty in understanding inertia, the stay-put inertia of matter? Everyone happy? Great. Richard Feynman said the laws of inertia have no known origin. For all their PhDs and all their professorships and all their universities, none of these physicists know what inertia is. They don't know why matter is inert. They've got this crazy Higgs boson theory for mass. It's just madness. It's so complex. I'm convinced they use maths and physics to keep us all hoodwinked. Because what they're teaching is a pack of lies. There are no quarks. In the book I've got in here, I disprove. I'll just pull it out. In the quantum vortex here, I disprove quark theory. I disprove the basis of quantum mechanics. I disprove the general theory of relativity. Everything, all the major theories in physics go and are replaced by this incredibly simple model. So, these whirlpools, they extend into infinity because energy is neither created nor destroyed, so they're overlapping And because they're dynamic, they interact. So the interaction of these vortices explains the force fields, action at a distance, electric charge, magnetism, gravity can all be explained from the vortex. Simply the whirlpools are interacting, winding together, pushing apart. Now, what is very important to understand with the vortex theory, for what I'm going to talk about in a moment, is that the vortex extends into infinity, never ends. It gets to a maximum sphere of space and then it goes in and forms antimatter, goes through the center of antimatter and out again. To understand this, you have to understand Alice in Wonderland. She drank the drink me drink and shrank, you see. This is the dimension of bigness and smallness, okay? And it's set up by the vortex. So the vortex makes space, okay? So the matter that we perceive is the center of the vortex of energy, but this space that's beyond our perception is the extension of the vortex into infinity, okay? So the vortex creates the force fields of electric charge and magnetism. It creates space, it sets up time, it sets up mass, it sets up matter, okay? So what I want to do is to move on from the quantum vortex, which I've just summarized, onto superenergy. This book began in 2022, 4 days before Putin invaded Ukraine. A paper was published in the Academy, in the annals of the Academy of the New York Academy of Sciences. Or I think it was the New York Academy for the Advancement of Science. And this paper was signed by about 18 academics, led by a man called Sam Parnia, a critical care specialist. And this paper brought the whole issue of near-death experiences into the body of sciences. Suddenly, there's a paper in a reputable scientific journal by an Academy of Sciences recognizing life after death, which is a massive step forward for science. So the thing is that near-death or after-death experiences are happening on an enormous scale. With the advance of resuscitation medicine, more and more people are being brought back from the grave. It's been predicted, hasn't it, in the religions, that a time would come when people would be rising from the dead. Well, that time is now. It's happening. People who are clinically dead, this chap Sam Parnia says, I don't start my work as a doctor until people are dead. It's not a near-death experience, it's an after-death experience. And there are millions of these cases. You just go onto the internet, onto YouTube. There's so many people now speaking about their experiences. And it needs to be explained. Where are they going? What is this other world they're entering? What sort of world is it? So we're going to look at that now. You see, what Einstein taught us is that everything in our world is relative to the speed of light. Well, if our world is made up of these little vortices of energy, which are formed out of light spinning, they're whirlpools of light, then obviously the speed of light would be the most significant thing within them. If there's nothing there, they're bits of speed spinning. Bits of speed spinning, nothing there. So the speed of the spin is pretty important because that's all you've got. You've got a bit of shape, which is either a whirlpool or a wave, and a speed. That's why Einstein said the speed of light is the sole universal constant. It's the underlying constant. Everything else is related to it. Now, in the particle accelerators, they've proved that the particles can never go beyond the speed of light. They just get more massive. Well, it's natural. It's obvious that these particles cannot move faster than the speed of the energy that makes them. It's logical. However, there's no reason why the energy within the vortex, the energy spinning to make a vortex of matter or antimatter, or the energy undulating or vibrating to make a quantum of light, there's no reason why that energy can't exist with speeds faster than the speed of light. There could be worlds in the universe based on energy faster than the speed of light, spinning in vortices, undulating in waves. And those vortices could be organized into atoms, molecules, cells. In these worlds, they would obey the same laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. They could be physical worlds, just like ours. Not spiritual worlds, physical worlds. So they should be understandable in terms of science. And the vortex theory, you see, allows for that. It allows for worlds beyond the speed of light. And this is what people are experiencing in near-death experiences. They're going on into a world which is just like our world. There are trees there, there are animals there, and there are people there. And some of the people they meet and recognize, they're their deceased relatives. Very often people meet their grandmother. And what is most embarrassing for the scientists, there's a woman called Penny Satori who did a PhD on afterlife. She was a critical care nurse. And she said one of the most difficult things in writing her PhD paper was the sheer number of people who met Jesus. Really embarrassing. But he's there in most near-death experiences. And what's interesting is he sends people back. There's one story, of someone who was out walking, and a rock fall, a great big rock fell on him and crushed him. And basically crushed his chest, crushed all his organs. He shouldn't have lived. But he made a remarkable recovery. And he said that when he was on the other side, he met Jesus. What Jesus is doing is he's working his miracles, and people who shouldn't live are coming back to life. He's doing his healing from the other side. So what is the other side? Let's talk about the other side. So this energy faster than the speed of light, I call superenergy. So we've got physical energy and superenergy. And let's just analyze what we're talking about with the superenergy. When I'm walking, I've got to just keep a little eye on the time, yeah, we're fine. When I'm walking, I'm going at a certain speed, but I'm 75. I can hardly run now. I can just about hobble along, with my little Zimmer frame. I haven't got one of those yet. But I can get on a bicycle, and I can go much faster on a bicycle than I can walk. But it's a lot easier if I get in a car. I mean, Susie was really driving today, 80 on the M5, make sure I got to the talk on time. And I could never keep up with that car when it's going at 80 miles an hour. But if I go up to Bristol Airport and start running my car alongside a jet that's taxiing, my little car can't keep up with the jet. So what it is that a jet can be at walking speed and bicycle speed and car speed as it comes away from the terminal. But the walker and the cyclist and the car can never catch up with that jet once it's taking off. And so it is that lesser speeds are part of greater speeds. This is the first law. It's the law of subsets, that the world based upon energy is a part of, or a subset of, the world of superenergy. So This is the model for the arrangement of the worlds. The world of energy is there. Then the first world of superenergy I call the hyperphysical. And the next world of superenergy I call the superphysical. The hyperphysical is the world of the astral plane, or the etheric plane. It's the plane of the soul. It's the fourth dimension. This is the third dimension, the fourth dimension. And the next level on, which I call superphysical reality, is the spiritual dimension. Okay? And so I break the universe up into three basic parts: physical, hyperphysical, superphysical. But these themselves, there are many, many other levels. But this is the fifth dimension. And beyond that, there's the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. But it's enough just to, once you get to the fifth dimension, into another reality. Now, in a book called the Urantia book, they recognize that there are worlds beyond the speed of light. And the next level out, the astral or the hyperphysical, is around about twice the speed of light. The energy is twice the speed of light, the fourth dimension. In the fifth dimension, the energy is 16 times the speed of light, much faster. Now, in the astral world or the hyperphysical, it's an atomic world, and it's called the anima mundi. It's the soul of the earth. And so the idea is that this world, when you're in this world, they can see us, but we can't see them. Okay? But it's a world made of atomic matter. We're all familiar with the atoms, with the periodic table of the elements, of the electrons orbiting protons, yeah? That's the arrangement of matter in our world. But there is another form of matter. It's called plasma. 99% of the universe is plasma. 1% is atomic matter. So we're the freaks, okay? We think this is normal. It's not. We're not in the normal world. The normal worlds are fields. And they are low density, invisible forms of matter. And they're alive because they're fantastic for life, because life is based on electricity. And these are fields, electric fields. Atoms are neutral electrically. They're the hardest things for life. Biggest challenge is to get life onto a planet, an atomic planet like ours. So the non-atomic matter, 99% of the universe, fulfills the definition of spirit. Spirit is low density and visible. You see? So we're beginning to get an understanding in physics of the way the universe is arranged that's compatible with spirituality. But I need to make it very clear that the astral realm, the hyperphysical, is not a spiritual dimension. It's a physical dimension. And it's part of the earth. And it's where we go when we pass over in a body. In a body, I must make this clear. When you die, you don't just become a little cloud or some sort of puffy thing. You are in a body. I call it the two-body dilemma. People who have an outer-body experience find themselves floating in a body, looking down on their body, and it's very, very confusing, or standing beside their body. They're looking down at the people who are trying to get their body out of an accident, or on the operating table or something like that. So how do we explain this two-body situation? That you're in a body, but you're looking down on your dead body? Well, it's simple. I believe that we are growing two bodies simultaneously. I believe the physical body is scaffolding for the hyperphysical or soul body. And what's happening is you're growing this hyperphysical body alongside the growth of the physical body. Because when people pass over, they're recognizable. And what happens is this. The physical body it's like you're growing a spacesuit. You can't be on a planet without a spacesuit. Absolutely absurd. And these are spacesuits. And what happens when we want to go home and leave the planet, finished our exploration and our investigation and whatever we need to learn from being on the surface of the planet, we step out of the suit, like they do in Star Trek, or the other, you just see in the space station, they get out of their spacesuit and they go home. And that's the thing in the near-death experiences. People feel they're going home. That's what it says in this paper in the New York Academy of Sciences, that most people feel they're going home. This isn't home. We don't belong here. This is a day at school. There are papers, Professor Ian Stevenson of, he's got all these papers out on reincarnation. Again, reincarnation is part of science now. So the thing is that what's happening is we're growing this hyperphysical body, and the hyperphysical body animates the physical body. And what happens is you step out of your physical body, like stepping out of a spacesuit, like shedding the skin of a snake, and you just go into the world where you belong. You are actually the animating part of you. The conscious thinking part of you isn't even in this world. It's in the hyperphysical, but it's locked into the physical spacesuit, into the physical body. So we're only conscious of this world, but some people, psychics, are simultaneously conscious in this world and in the other world. Because it's mechanisms in the brain that lock our consciousness in. It's all part of the game, all part of the learning experience. So, what happens to people when they go over into this other world, when they shed the physical? They meet other people. They meet people who passed before them. And these people are much younger because the hyperphysical body doesn't age like the physical body. And the thing is that they're recognizable. So you can see the power of the vortex theory enables us to explain the two-body dilemma. Now, there are other things that we can explain with this model. We're not supposed to believe in fairies, are we? Not when we're scientists, okay? And angels. I mean, everyone in Glastonbury is into angels and fairies. They think we're a load of nutters. But actually, you've heard that people talk about, these higher dimensions are based on higher frequencies of vibration. That was Sir Oliver Lodge coming up with a metaphor. If you increase the frequency of vibration, you cook somebody. These other worlds are not based upon higher frequencies of vibration. They're based on higher speeds of energy. In these worlds, the relativity constant, I call them the Einstein constant, is not the speed of light. It's twice the speed of light in the hyperphysical. Everything is relative to twice the speed of light. In the fifth dimension, everything is relative to 16 times the speed of light. So the difference is the intrinsic speed of energy, not the frequency of vibration. In ancient law, they said that the angels are all around us, but we can't see them because we're moving too fast. They're moving too fast, not we're moving too fast. We can't see them because they are moving too fast. And they said that the angels, the fairies at the bottom of the garden, We don't see them because we're too slow and clumsy. So you see, the difference between our world and these super-energy worlds is a factor of speed. And the people who believed in angels and fairies recognized that. So again, you know, the fact that the Aboriginals in Australia recognized we're in a dream state, the fact that people in ancient times knew that the separation between us and the spiritual worlds is a factor of speed. The fact that the yogis knew that the smallest particles of matter are vortices of light. We've got to really treat the past with respect. Recognize that people who've gone before us can be more knowledgeable, wiser. You know the way people in my age group, I'm 75 now, the way, oh, we're all pushed to 5, he's just too old, nobody doesn't know what he's talking about. No, in the real societies, the native societies, they honor the elders, they respect the elders, because they've got more wisdom, more experience. So, they're all angels all around us. In the 18th century, there was a Swede called Emanuel Swedenborg. Some of you may have heard of him, who had a near-death experience. And he went into the higher levels, and he received a teaching. He had a teacher, and his teachings were for the world. And he was highly respected. Goethe, Kant, the French symbolists, Carl Jung, a lot of these great, movers in our society look back to Swedenborg, had great respect for his teachings. And one of Swedenborg's teachings, one of the things he was taught, is that angels are not created in heaven by God. Angels arise from the souls of humans deceased. And that the position we take in angelic society is dependent upon our attitudes, our beliefs, and our behavior whilst we're incarnate on the planet Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the womb of angels. In fact, this place you find yourself in, called planet Earth, is not just a womb of angels, it's an academy of angels. Some of you here are baby angels, just coming into angelhood for the first time. Others are angels coming down here for an upgrade, get a bit more experience. Some are angels who are coming as teachings. I know I've been told I'm an incarnation of Raphael, Archangel Raphael. Jesus was an incarnation of Michael, Archangel Michael. So you get, some of these archangels volunteering to come back into incarnation as teachers. I've been told this is my 3rd incarnation of the wheel of life. So I'm here as a volunteer. Some people find me very difficult because I just keep laughing. I treat the whole of life like a joke because actually that's how I perceive it to be. The great thing is keep laughing. Don't take it too seriously. But the thing is that we're here to go through challenging experiences. If you want to really take a quantum leap in angelic evolution, you may find yourself going through a lot of suffering, especially in childhood. If you went through a really difficult childhood, Amma, the great teacher, the hugging guru, she went through a terrible childhood. And she's got her mum and dad living in a nice little bungalow at her ashram. She doesn't hold it against them. She says, thanks them for that, because she knows that was essential for her evolution, for her awakening. As Amma says, a challenging life is a blessing, and an easy life is a curse. So the thing is that if we can recognize why we're here, what we're here for, and the opportunity that this life offers for us, Some of you people here in this room are destined to become the guardian spirits of a star, of a sun, where you're responsible for the life forms on the planets orbiting around you. Helios, the spirit of the sun, is very much involved in the life forms on planet Earth, including us. Some of you, there are some people alive now. Yeshua, yes, in one of the near-death experiences, this girl came back and she said, Yeshua asked me to come back with a message. His name is Yeshua, not Jesus. Thank you very much. Yeshua said this. He said that there are people on the planet Earth today who have surpassed him in their spiritual advancement and evolution. That is gobsmacking. Everyone puts Jesus at the top of the pile. He's saying, no, some of you down there are up there and I'm here. Don't underestimate yourselves. Don't underestimate your evolution. Some of you may be in this room, I don't know, but there's some people on the planet now who are destined to become the spirits who will incarnate in their next body as a black hole at the center of a galaxy. And they'll be the spirit responsible for all life forms in 300 billion star systems. That's gobsmacking. That's why it's so tough. That's why you've been through incarnation after incarnation, where you've been galley slaves, where you've been black people put down all the time, where you've been burnt at the stake. I mean, why do you think we got mortgages? We have to love the bankers. We mustn't curse them. They keep putting the price of the mortgages up. They put the interest rates up. They put the screws up, you know. They're just helping us in our spiritual advancement. They're the teachers. The people, the bad people, all the evil people, they're the teachers. They're putting us through our paces. They're not evil. They're sent for a purpose. That's their job. That's their karma. That's their dharma. So however your life is unfolding, you know it's for a great purpose. And this whole idea in science that there's no purpose to human life, there's no purpose to the universe, I don't believe it. There is enormous purpose. The thing is that what we realize in what the vortex theory teaches and quantum physics teaches, this is not just the vortex theory, is that the bedrock of reality is consciousness. And there's only one consciousness. There's one indivisible consciousness that's in everything. And it's in us. And what's looking out of your eyes and hearing through your ears is that one conscious awareness. In other words, we're the one being in the many bodies. Hello, me. Look, this room's full of me's. There's me up here in this body, a male body, having this experience, and there's lots of me's down there in lots of different bodies. Some of you are in female bodies. That's a different experience. In other words, they're the brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity. We're all one being. We all have the same feelings, the same needs, the same emotions. The thoughts are different, but the underlying reality of our being is one. So when you hurt another person, you hurt yourself. But when you love another person, you love yourself. It's like Sai Baba said. He said, I am God, but so are you. The only difference is I know it and you don't. You know, was Jesus the Son of God? Yeah, but so are you. You're a daughter of God. I'm a son of God. You're a son of God. We're all sons and daughters of God. We're all manifestations of that same divine reality. So there is a purpose, and the purpose of life is to experience physicality. We're not here to have a spiritual experience. We're not physical beings here to have a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings here to have a physical experience, which again is laid out by these laws. It's so simple that we come down with spiritual beings that take on a soul, that take on a body, a soul body and a physical body. And the idea is that The spirit that incarnates in us, which is a field of consciousness, animates the two bodies, the physical body and the hyperphysical body. And when you pass over and you shed this physical body, the hyperphysical body stays in the anima mundi, in the soul of the earth. And it's like, you know how in a computer everything, all the data is sectioned? In a library, you've got all the books in different sections. And so it is, whilst we're here in this world, we're all mixed together, all the different frequencies of humanity. So we find ourselves with difficult neighbors, having to live maybe in a relationship with someone who's really challenging. Well, they're there to challenge us. We have to trust that every person we meet, every relationship we're in, is there for our betterment, which is the basis of love. If you can really understand the purpose and that people hurt you because that's part of the experience of human life that we need to go through for our spiritual advancement. And so the thing is that the spirit comes in, and the hyperphysical body, the soul body, lives in a compartment, in other words, on a different level. And when you're on those levels in the next reality, you're with people of compatible frequency. So you don't have difficult neighbors. You're with people who think much like you do. So it's much easier there. But basically, the universe accesses information. And you know, people have the life review. Well, you can access your life. You can access your many lives that are all still living. And this is the Akashic records. They're living records. Everything that has ever existed or lived is alive on another level and can be accessed by this super universal computer. And then what happens is your spiritual, the consciousness, the soul that you are, the spiritual level, in the fifth dimension, your higher self, incarnates and grows a different body, a new body, in a new time. There's an amazing story. It's a little chap called Billy Connolly or something. He's in Australia. He lives in Adelaide. He's a little boy. I think he's grown up a bit now. You can find it on YouTube. It's fascinating. Just keep an eye on the time. We've got time, yeah? Fascinating. This little boy says he was a princess in his last life. At 2, his mother showed him a picture of Princess Diana, and he said, "Oh, that's me when I was a princess." And, oh, well. Anyway, he started talking about as he got older, about 4 or so, he talked about his 2 sons when he was a princess, gave their names. And then he started talking about going into Balmoral, into the castle. He said, didn't mention Balmoral, but he said he went into this castle, and when he looked up, there were 2 unicorns on either side. Well, it's interesting. You get that at Balmoral. It's the coat of arms in Scotland have got 2 unicorns, not the lion and the unicorn. But what makes it really intriguing is he was speaking about his brother John. When he was Princess Diana, he had a brother called John. Now, everyone knows that Princess Diana had a brother called Charles. Very few people know she had a brother called John. But when the parents did the research, they found that before Diana was born, the Spencers had a baby boy, and he only lived for an hour. You see? And it's not common knowledge. You've got to dig deep for that. How could a little boy in Adelaide, below 5, have known about the unicorns above Balmoral, have known the names of Harry and William, known all about the accident when she stopped being a princess, but most of all known that the Spencers had a baby boy, which they called John, who lived for only an hour. So you see, it's difficult to brush this sort of information aside. It's pretty good proof of reincarnation. And so what happens is that when we reincarnate, we come back into a new body. So the spirit that was Princess Diana is now a little boy, so you don't especially come back as a woman if you're a woman now, and you weren't especially a woman in your last life. You may have been a man. But anyway, come back as a little boy. And what a wonderful thing. I mean, none of the stress of being a princess, and he's more than likely going to become a surfer and a drummer and a guitarist and have a really nice, neat life. Australia's a great place to be a little boy, I tell you. So I'm going to open up for questions. Anyone got any questions? I didn't hear that. I'm going to need help because I've got hearing aids in, but my hearing is not that good.
We had a lady at the front here somewhere. Yes? No?
If you could...
I'll go to this gentleman here.
Maybe, could you take the microphone to them?
We are.
Andy, thank you.
At the beginning you said that the wall is solid because of inertia of the vortex. And you said that the higher reality is more subtle, but the speed of energy is faster. Shouldn't be more solid.
I didn't understand any. I'm sorry about this.
At the beginning, you said the wall is solid because of the inertia.
Can I have? I'm going to have to come and get help for you.
You said that the wall is solid because of the inertia.
Yes, correct.
Because of the vortex.
Yes.
And the higher walls are more subtle.
Yes.
But the speed of energy is higher.
Higher, correct. Yes.
So it shouldn't be more solid.
Well, the hyperphysical world, yes, what this gentleman is saying is that the higher worlds are less solid, they're more flexible and fluid than this world. But, certainly, we have to understand that the next world out, the hyperphysical or astral plane, is atomic matter. So that's very solid, it's a very real physical world like our world. Not as hard and concrete and dense, because you've got a higher speed of energy, the lower density. And you know how shamans and magicians and people with city powers and that can manipulate this world, can manipulate matter. Well, it's much easier to manipulate and manifest reality in that other world, okay? But when you get up to the fifth dimension and beyond, certainly because you're dealing with plasma and you're not dealing with atomic matter, it's a lot less solid, a lot lighter and freer, and the consciousness is much freer. You have to remember that, you know, the universe is full of spirit. 99%, I mean, of the universe is spiritual matter. You see, and we can't begin to comprehend the bodies and But Susie was just reading me a poem, I think yesterday this morning about, people who are, it's one of the poets, I think it was Wordsworth or someone, who come back like as stars. My father said that, stars are angels disguised as light. So some of us, the bodies we come back into are stars or black holes, and these are plasma, you see. These are not atomic matter at all. So we have no understanding of how it is when you get outside of atomic matter. Okay. Any other questions? There's this lady.
Hold on.
Thank you. This might be a silly question to you, but what happens? Do we have a choice to reincarnate?
Do we have a choice?
Do we have a choice to reincarnate?
Yeah. Do we have a choice to? Absolutely.
And also,
yes.
If you choose not to, what happens?
Okay. Do you have a choice to reincarnate? Absolutely. Usually what happens is that when you get into the hyperphysical and you're reviewing your life, there may be aspects that you need to learn. You may want to go on and come back into another body. For example, that spirit that was Princess Diana had the experience of being a princess, but maybe she wanted to come back and just have a bit of a chill out, have a bit of a life where she could have a bit more freedom and fun, you see what I mean, without all those constraints. Because apparently life in the boarding schools and that for the Spencer children was pretty appalling. Charles has been talking about it recently. So, but the important answer to your question is that absolutely reincarnation is with your consent. And you choose as a spirit that it's to your best advantage. And if you don't want to reincarnate, you don't have to. You've got all the incarnations you've had up until that point. And you are essentially an angelic being anyway. And you will undergo the transition or the ascension into the angelic realms at the end times with whatever you've accumulated to that point. But I can tell you, the reason why there's such an enormous population at this time, the time of great transition, is everybody wants to be here. This is the planet of action. Nobody wants to miss out, you know. So it's more likely you'd want to come back and be here for this action time. Yeah. And, you know, life in our civilization is a lot easier and a lot more fun than it's been in previous times. Okay, how are we doing for time? I think we've got time.
Yeah, we've got a little bit more time. Yes, the question over there.
If you could take the...
Thank you for sharing all your knowledge.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing all your knowledge, and I do agree with every single piece. But the only piece that's missing is you explained very well about the space, but I'm asking about the time in the 4D and 5D. How would you put that?
Brilliant. I love it. I love it. Yes, I haven't spoken much about time. Time is the relationship between events, you see. So the time we use as our clock is the movement of the Earth, the movement of the moon around the Earth, the movement of the Earth around the sun, set up our years, months, and days. But what I've recognized about time is that time is relative to size. So if you take a movie of little creatures like insects, which have looked to you very jerky, and you slow it down, their movements are like the beat of the albatross wing. Cats, when you film them and slow the film down, they're like panthers, you see. So the fact that it all looks a bit speedy to us is because we're in a different time zone. So if you were a giant and you were able to kick the Earth as though it were football, you're a space giant, then you might use the turn of the Earth as your seconds. You might use the movement of the moon around the Earth as your minutes. And you might use the circuit of the Earth around the sun as your days. And so you see, if you move further out and you're the sides of the universe, then a day to you would be billions of years to man. And so it is that if there is a divine being that's like the consciousness of the entire universe, at that scale, indeed that being could have foreseen or overseen the creation, the evolution, if you like, because I think it's neither creation or evolution. I think evolution is part of the creative process, but it's always underpinned by intelligence. But from that size or that perspective, then in fact the 7 days of creation in the Bible could be very accurate. Okay? So again, time is relative on each plane, so each plane will have its own time frame. So it's rather like a river. When you step out of incarnation, when you go into another of these realities, you're stepping into a different time. And because the space and time of our world is part of the space-time, a subset of the next world, when you look, you can see the future as well as the past. And this is where you get predictions coming through from these other realities. Okay?
So, David, you have 5 minutes. This is your 5-minute call.
It's okay. I'll take one more question.
Okay.
Yes?
Please wait for the mic.
Sorry? No, I come close because of my hearing.
That's fine. Do we visit the other dimensions in our dreams?
Yes. Susie and I were talking about this the other day, and Susie was emphasizing the whole thing of visionary dreams. Sometimes we have sometimes our dreams are visionary, and so we're having inputs from the other world. A lot of the time we're just integrating what's going on, but dreams are quite mysterious because To what extent do we visit other worlds in our dreams? This is the dream state, and we go into another dream state for the night and kind of sort stuff out. And it's all part of our... It seems as though we're simultaneously living in two worlds, a dream world and this dream world. Yeah, so that's interesting. Now, I want to finish my talk, because time is quite strict, with this quote. Because what am I really about? What is this all about? First of all, I have to find my glasses. This is a quote by Abdullah Baha, and this is one of the founders of the Baha'i faith. Put all your beliefs into harmony with science. There can be no opposition, for truth is one. When religion, shorn of its superstitions, traditions, and unintelligent dogmas, shows its conformity with science, then there will be a great unifying, cleansing force in the world, which will sweep before it all wars, disagreements, discords, and struggles, and then will mankind be united in the power of the love of God. That is what I am trying to achieve in my lifetime with this physics of the vortex and this physics of superenergy. I tell you, with this model, there's no stopping it. It's like everything. God, angels, life after death, reincarnations, alternative medicine, homeopathy, crop circles. Everything can be explained. Everything in physics. It's the most extraordinary gift that's come through, and it's come through from yoga, which means union. And as my daughter says, Jessie, who teaches yoga, everything goes back to yoga. Thank you very much indeed.